Welcome back. Tap, tap, tap. Breaker, breaker. Um, I have a cold. You can probably hear it already. Yeah, I felt it coming on last night and zapped me today. So I slept most of the day. Yeah, and it'll probably just take a couple days of sleeping to shake it off. It's not too bad. But I wanted to come on and because I had I had a lot of dreams while I was sleeping all day, and the dreams lately have been interesting as usual, and also just to kind of comment on what's going on in our big old world. Yes, welcome back to the big comfy couch. A viewer last time mentioned that she could see my snack bin over here. There's a little box next to the lamp. So as you can see right now, we have pretzels and Medel ginger snaps. Remember these? So delicious. But last time it was Tootsie Rolls. So she said she had to go out after my video and get a bag of Tootsie Rolls, which is really funny and super cute. So thanks for that, Faye. Woohoo! All right. So where do we begin today? The heart, the heartache continues in Ukraine. I think, given that probably most of the people who would view my video and the psychics that are the popular psychics would be mostly adults, as opposed to teenagers or people in their 20s 30s. I think seeing this war at an age, at an older age, or middle age or higher, is a different experience than seeing a war when you are young and you don't understand all that much about the world. It's almost worse when you're a bit older, because you see how fruitless it is, how unnecessary it is, and yet these villains, really, for lack of a better word, they have basically, yeah, they've embraced the darkness of this realm. I mean, let me clarify that our 3D world is light and dark. So naturally, the extremes of both are manifested in a world like this. So you come across people who are so light filled, so purely loving, that they appear to be and really are kind of essentially angelic. And then you have the exact opposite. You have the complete, almost complete lack of light, like a dark black hole, like a complete void. And Putin falls in that box. Certainly 45 does. Putin may be worse, which is a weird thing to say after everything we went through here in the States. Either way, they're working the wrong side of the fence and they're destined to lose. But as I have probably said many times, this will sound familiar to you. I have kind of come to the conclusion that sometimes the motives of the forces of the underside, let's say, the unfriendlies, the dark side, sounds like Star Wars, is to extend suffering. Suffering is part of their goal, because when suffering is extended for a longer period of time, it begins to wear on even the very light filled people, like yourselves probably watching. You are sensitive, I know I am, to the suffering of other people. And when we see it on a mass scale, and it is so brutal and so barbaric and so over the line, it's even past the quote unquote norms of war, and war is already brutal, it makes it that much harder. And that is part of like how we're challenged. I have asked myself many times, why is it the Ukrainians who are seemingly fated to bear the brunt of this awful war, the bulk of the suffering? And the only answer I can come to is very unsatisfactory, but it's very much like the answer that I have heard people give when the opposite is true. When someone has had a kind of charmed life, and a life with many blessings, and they ask the question, well, why me? Why do I get to enjoy this beautiful life of many, joys? And The answer from Spirit is, why not you? Why not you? Are you not as deserving as anyone? And when we begin to internalize that belief within ourselves, that we are as worthy as anyone, especially when we are operating from our noblest, highest intentions as often as we can, we will fail. We will fail. We will make mistakes in being human. The saints were fallible. I am incredibly fallible. Yet, if our basic urges and actions are in favor of the light, then why not? Why not you? Why not you? Why not me for blessings, beautiful blessings from Spirit? That's how I see it. And so, unfortunately, the opposite must also be true in the realm of light and dark with the Ukrainians. Well, why the Ukrainians? Why must they suffer? Well, it's like the same answer. Well, why not them? Which is really, I know, it's really unsatisfactory. But they are apparently a very strong people. They are resisting, and they have driven the Russians basically to the east. The Russians have endured, they have experienced enormous losses, and everything I read about the war is not in Putin's favor. For example, I read today on thedailybeast.com that soldiers are resigning or abandoning their posts en masse, like 400, 500, 600 soldiers at a time, because they haven't received the bonus pay they were promised. Which, why is that a surprise? When someone is a deceiver like Vlad or 45, they promise the moon and they deliver nothing. They deliver you a pile of shit. That's how they operate. And then they tell you, well, that's what you get because, that's how it is. Suck it up, buttercup, and they really don't care. And that's what's so weird about darkness and what's so hard to understand, because most decent people can't even comprehend acting like that, or how someone like Vlad would think that would be a strategy, that would be a way to win a war by alienating all of your own soldiers at the same time that you're alienating the rest of the world because you are behaving like a barbaric butcher. So in some weird way, darkness has failure built in because it's not a sustainable model. And make no mistake, Ukraine will prevail, but the cost is high. And that's the hard part for us to witness, because we can only do so much. We pray. I pray every day. I'm sure most of you do too. I have sent some money to Ukrainian aid organizations or other international aid organizations to help there to the extent that I can, that I'm able. And we hope that they will prevail sooner than later. And there was another article that I read that was similar and interesting. Oh, well, in the same article about the Russian soldiers abandoning their posts over the lack of bonus pay, they were even saying that the soldiers were saying that when they get packages from home, their superior officers just raid the packages. So by the time the box gets to the soldier, all the goodies from home are gone. So like the grift is institutionalized. It's from the top down or the bottom up, however way you want to look at it. And that is not a functional society. That's a society that is decaying rapidly. And again, the Russians will lose, or rather the Ukrainians will win. But it's the time scale that is the problem, that the suffering continues. And that's really hard to watch when you know that it doesn't have to be that way. But apparently mankind learns slowly, because there have been an awful lot of wars on this planet for hundreds and thousands of years, an awful lot of barbarism on this planet. And yet, it hasn't yet been enough to tip the scale in favor of a more permanent peace, but it will come. And I really, again, reiterate what I've said in other videos, that I do feel strongly this is a prophesized time. This is it appears in many spiritual traditions and in religious traditions, in a kind of end times, but without the end of the world, but really the rebirth of the world. And so these low vibrational energies, these dark forces are feeling squeezed. They know they're getting squeezed out of the new earth, which will exist at a higher plane and be more idyllic, not perfect, but more idyllic, closer to heaven, closer to heaven. And so they are resisting with all their might, and they are trying to wear down our will. Whether they realize that is the bigger picture or not, I can't say, but it is the larger picture, I feel strongly. So we can't give up. We just can't give up believing that there will be better days and that the world will essentially be reborn. I think many people are shocked around the world again at the barbarism of this war. We thought that these kinds of wars had been left behind with the end of the last century, but this is, again, like a last gasp war. And it feels like it's out of time or doesn't belong in this time period, this timeline. And that's all the more reason why people are so feeling so strongly. Even, Americans are generally united that Putin is a war criminal. It's over 80%. We haven't had that kind of consensus about anything in this country for many years with all the divide. And so in his own weird way, he has helped to unify us in certain respects, and he has helped strengthen the NATO alliance, the Western alliance, and he's helped the democracies rediscover their purpose and their necessity for being. And that can help lead to more reform, and it will. I feel strongly, again, it will lead to reforms in this country and in other countries. It's just so slow. It feels so slow. Okay, so that's a whole chunk of stuff. Let me tell you a little about the dreams. I'll try to keep it brief because I'm pretty bad. I'm pretty tuckered out. Well, what's funny about the dreams within the last week is I've had guest appearances by two psychics that I like very much. So about a week ago, I had a guest appearance by Kim Carey in one of my dreams. She just sort of popped in and out, and I sent her a quick note and said, "Hey, you had a cameo in my dream," and we laughed about it. And who knows? Maybe I was crisscrossing with her on the astral plane during sleep. I can't say. And then last night, Milu, the psychic Milu, showed up in my dreams. And I like Milu a lot. I think there's something very warm about him, very compassionate, and I love his laugh. I find him to be a very bright soul. I really like his spark. And so Milu was in last night's stream. So I was afraid I would forget it, so I did write it down, and I'm going to reference my notes here on my phone. And then we'll call it a night. So, unrelated to the war, it says here, I dreamt about nature being in danger. In the dream, I was shown these kind of flying insects that don't exist. In the dream, they were about this big, and they were kind of glowing, and they almost looked like flying flowers, like about this big. But what was weird in the dream was I was made aware that these insects that don't exist, these large flower-like insects, were having trouble reproducing. And in the dream, I could see through the sides of the insects. It's like they were, I don't know if they actually were transparent or if it's just that they appear transparent to me. And I could actually see like the tubules inside the bodies of these flying flowers. And the tubules kind of look like, they almost look like the stems in a flower, like how flowers are pollinated, like tubules. And in the tubules, I could see these little white objects that were meant to represent their offspring. But what was distressing was that the insects were. So I'm reading my notes. I would see these offspring inside of these insects, and then the tubules kept emptying involuntarily. So basically, without these flying flowers wanting them to, they were aborting their own young. They were unable to bring them to term, to birth them. And so this was distressing to the insects. I could feel their emotion. It was distressing to the people who were there witnessing it, because we knew we had the inkling that the problem was endemic, that there had been some disruption of nature in such a way that these beings were having trouble reproducing themselves, and then that could spell larger danger for the planet. Because when we talk about ecosystems or things like bees, if bees were to fail to pollinate en masse and die off en masse, it could tip the whole food supply of the world, and there could be great famine or possibly worse. So, and no one was sure what to do about this situation yet, about these insects that couldn't carry their offspring successfully. So this is where Milu comes in. He was around in the dream, and I wrote down that he was trying to help in some way, but I'm not sure how. And then it made me think when I woke up, gee, I wonder if any other of the psychics that I watch will show up in a future dream. Wouldn't that be funny? Because sometimes I have these themed dreams that go on for multiple nights, Let's see. So that was the bulk of that dream. And actually, there's a part B and maybe C to this dream that I forgot that I wrote down already, if you can believe it. That's how, if I don't write it down, it goes away. I remember, too, when waking up and thinking about those insects, that I think we are in a period of environmental distress among all the other challenges we have. It seems to me, I could be wrong, but I think this is where maybe ETs may come in. If it's true what especially Sterling, psychic medium, says, that there's an alien reveal coming in the next few years, and part of what they gift to us will be technology that will help us to clean up the planet, among other problems. Then I could see that all coming to fruition. And it reminds me of another article I read recently that was very bizarre, about these microbes in the ocean, I believe, that had evolved to be able to actually consume plastic. I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous video or not, but it's kind of relevant. Yeah, no one ever expected a naturally occurring organism to be able to digest plastic and then turn it into organic material, but it would be a way of cleaning up plastic waste. If you had microbes that could literally consume plastic and excrete organic material, you would have a net effect of, cleaning up pollution. And if you could do it on a big enough scale, perhaps with some alien technological assistance, you could clean up mass areas by converting what was thought to be non-biodegradable plastics into organic materials that are safe for our environment. So who knows what's coming? These are possibilities. Then there was, this is the part I forgot. Then there was a cutaway from the insects, and there was a scene in the kitchen that I grew up with in the suburbs of Buffalo. And in the dream, I'm enjoying a bowl of cereal. And after I finished the bowl of cereal, and I had a bowl of cereal today, by the way, I think the dream came first, so then it made me want the cereal. Kind of like when Faye saw the Tootsie Rolls over here. So I finished my bowl of cereal. It was very satisfying. And then I decided to check and see if I still had the ability to levitate, because apparently that was that was a known in the stream. Oh yeah, I can levitate, but I haven't done it in a while, so I should check. So my first try in the kitchen was a total dud. And then I was able to levitate a few feet off the ground, and I levitated around the corner through the side room into the living room where my mom and my brother were, again in the house that I grew up in when we were together there as three. And so I showed them, and I encouraged my mom to try it, but she wasn't sure that she wanted to. And then I told her, so I'm reading again, that when I got off the ground in the kitchen, it was almost like stepping up to sit on an invisible bike. Like that it was that easy once I kind of remembered how to do it, even though I was more standing than sitting. And then my mom went to a corner of the room behind one of the love seats. It was we had this polar bear like white love seat. The fabric was, and she was standing. So she went to this corner of the room, and she stood on my brother Steve's unoccupied wheelchair, which is kind of. I'm not sure what to make of that yet. Of course, my brother Steve is in a wheelchair and has been for his life, and because he has cerebral palsy, which is I wrote about in my book with his permission, of course. So she goes to the corner of the room and she stands on top of his wheelchair to like I don't know get like up a little bit before she tries to levitate. And my brother Steve was sitting on the couch, kind of kitty corner to that corner, and she tried. And to me, from my vantage point, standing in the room, it looked like she got up in the air. Like I was like, "Oh wow, you did it!" But then she gave up too quickly. It seemed. And then we kind of argued about it gently, like hey, like I was being like, hey, you did it, you could do it, you didn't follow through. And then she was like, whatever, I don't want to do it, or I can't do it, or whatever it was that she said, like typical family banter, you know. So I was trying to encourage her, but she was done with it. And then in this dream, which mirrors my brother Steve's visions, when if you read or listened to my first book online here, because you can go back and there's a whole playlist for the videos for my first book, which are free, called God Laughs at Dirty Jokes, or you can read it online if you like on Kindle, or get a hard copy on Amazon, blah blah blah. In the book, you may recall that when my brother gets psychic visitors, like especially when our brother Justin, who is on the other side, comes to visit Steve, my brother Steve is out of his wheelchair. He is able to walk, which makes perfect sense because on the other side, he would be able to walk. He would be, I guess you could say, in some sense, restored. So Steve just got up off the couch in this dream, which I thought was kind of cool because I don't know if that's happened before. And he got up to flick off what looked like a small insect on the fireplace, and I could hear it kind of like tap the wall, like near where my mom had been standing. It just sort of like, that little like you flick it and then it goes, it kind of hits the wall. And when he sat back down, I quizzed him about it. I was like, oh, like, why did you do that? Because I could hear it hit the wall. And then he didn't want to tell me that he did it. Like he was like not admitting it like a brother would. And so again, we're just like kind of laughing. He didn't crush the insect. He didn't hurt it. He just flicked it. But I didn't know why he did it, which is, I don't know. I still don't know why. And then, oh, there's more. And I didn't even realize it was here. I'll just read it verbatim. There was also a part where I was watching, quote unquote, the end of the movie about the fate of the insects from the earlier part of the dream. And I was watching, I remember this now, I was watching the end of this movie about the insects on a screen, like a TV screen, a large TV screen that was in midair, like not realistically, outside of a hotel that I think I was definitely staying there, and maybe my family was too. Yeah, so it says here. So I was traveling now with the family there. And Milu appears. He worked at the hotel. And we were outside, and I was looking up at the screen, and the movie about the insects, it didn't seem to end well. It seemed like the problem was ongoing, or at least in this movie it was. So the insects weren't faring well by the end of the movie about them. So I wrote here again, if this is symbolic of what's currently happening in nature, then I hope we get some form of assistance soon, hopefully from the ETs that are said to be around, to help prevent the destruction of nature and a chain reaction that would threaten global food supplies and ultimately human beings. Hopefully the dream was just a warning of a potentially perilous future and not a prediction. And that is how I feel about it. I don't think it's faded, but I do think it was another kind of timely reminder of things we need to get to among the cajillion other problems the world is experiencing now, including, yeah, the next sort of mild wave of COVID. I'm fairly confident I don't have COVID because my family had this very same cold, and it was like a 3 day cold, and my mom took a test and she didn't have it, came back negative, and it just doesn't feel like it. And even if it is, then it's awfully mild because right now you can hear most of the congestion is in my nose, and my throat was sore last night and a little today, but I just drank a cup of hot tea, chamomile, and that helped. And I'm popping Tylenols every 6 hours and sleeping. So I'm going to try to sleep it off the next couple of days. I caught a break. Work is not really that busy this week, so I'm able to kind of lay low for a few and really recover, which is really important, and also so I don't expose other people. Excuse me. So I will lose a gig that I was supposed to do this weekend on Friday, but that's okay. What can you do? So, excuse me, pardon me. So impolite. That's the news from here. We have lots of squirrel visitors and bird visitors every day, which is fun. And even though there's still so much going on, I really feel strongly we are moving into the age of Aquarius as predicted, but it's just slow going and it's going to take time. And to be patient for that is very hard for all of us. But it's even harder for the people in Ukraine. So we'll continue to pray for them. Pray for everyone there. And even, yes, pray for 45 and pray for Vlad, even though it doesn't feel very fruitful. All right, be well. Take care of yourselves. I hope to see you again soon. As you know, it helps the algorithms if you like, share, subscribe to my channel. Comments are always welcome because they're fun. I may not get to them right away on this one, being that I'll probably be sleeping for a few days, but I will get to them. All right, take care. See you soon.